Everyone ready? All up to stage, you've got your data points in? Got the points? Yeah? Okay, let me just summarise what I want to do with you then. So, do you remember last lesson at the end, we went through the points here that we were given and we redid the points here and we looked at the equation, how to find the equation of the line? Remember doing the rise over run and then choosing a point and finding the plus c so you didn't need to read it off the axes? Remember that? We got an equation here, minus 1.08 plus 0.6, and there was a bit of a problem, wasn't there? What was the problem? Yeah, and how did we know our equation wasn't correct? Exactly. So we had, if we used the graph to predict someone's score for art, we said if they scored 50 marks in maths, I think Sienna just picked a 50, didn't you? Sienna? 50. How much, if someone hadn't taken their art and we were going to go, right, we'll give you an art score based on our predictions, by using the graph itself, I think we decided, right, here it was, look, at 50 we read up and read across and it was about somewhere between 11 and 12, and the problem we got was we had the 11 or 12 bit we wrote down, but we worked out negative 53.4. So there must have been a bit of a mistake. Did anyone look at it and go, I know where the mistake is? No? So we're going to have a look at that in a sec. It's actually a really very, very common one. And I didn't pick you up on it at the start because I wanted you to see what happens when there's a mistake that you can check, right, in the assessment. Yes, Lee?
Sorry, I just got on all the points. I'm not showing up.
Okay, so if you plot it and it doesn't show up, it will be because your axes aren't set to the right numbers. You know, like when you're drawing it by hand, you have to make it spread out. So if you click on that spanner at the top right-hand corner, although it doesn't appear on my screen, that's not very good, is it?
You can also just like...
Yeah, you can zoom in and out, but it's better to set it. All right, guys, so first off, all right, because you've got to do this in your assessment, all right, you're going to be finding, I'm going to give you your assessment paper tomorrow. Tomorrow, Thursday, all right, and we're going to start talking it through. But one of the things you have to do is be able to use Desmos to find the equation. So do you remember we used GeoGebra, and we put a point and we did the line, and then we also did linear. We could use GeoGebra, but actually Desmos is perfectly good and quite quick and clear and easy, as long as you know how. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get the computer to tell us the correct equation now, and we're going to compare what we did to what it got and see how different we were. Right? There must be something that's wrong with it, right? Our equation was wrong, so there must be one bit must be wrong. So let's see what the computer comes up with. So just to remind you, we came up with an equation of negative 1.08x plus 0.6. All right. Now on Desmos, we plotted the points. Now this is a really important bit. I'm recording it. You might want to review this before you have to do it for yourself for the assessment. It's actually pretty obvious why, but only if you remember it. So go down to below your table. You've got a second cell, an available one. Click in there. All right, we're going to add the equation of a line. All right? Now, what we're going to do is this. Well, actually, you tell me, what is the general form of the equation of our straight line? What does it normally look like? So before you do this, I'm just going to type this in. I'm going to put y equals mx plus c in, right? And if I do that, you can see it does add some things in. It does react to that. But there's a couple of different things. But it makes sense, the y equals mx plus c thing, right? So I get you to type that in now. Type in the y equals mx plus c. Can I zoom in? I can. There you go. All right. But to make it do our line of best fit for us, we have to add a couple of things in. Right? Now, on my table, at the top of the table, it doesn't say just x and y. What does it say? So, first of all, let's put those in. So next to my y, I'm just going to type a 1 in. All right? And next to my m, I'm going to type a 1. Okay? Still, oh, nothing's appeared yet. Or did I delete all my numbers? I did, didn't I? Okay. All right. Hopefully we're going to change. This is what also needs to change is maybe we have to re-put. I'm sorry if I didn't realise it. Okay, what we do want the 1, but what we want to do is this equal sign we want to change to something else. That's good that happened. So the equal sign, we need to have something different. And this is because of the computer, not because of us. The computer needs to understand with a little bit of, for those of you that have done any programming stuff. So what we do is this. If you go to your, you can probably do it on your keyboard if you know where it is. But I'm going to click on this keyboard just to show you. All right. There is, if I click on ABC, all right, there's this squiggly line down here. Everyone with me? Do I need to go through that again? So keyboard, all right, so I clicked on keyboard, clicked on ABC. Across here, there's a squiggle. Click on that, and that replaces, okay? And if I press enter, why is that not working? Okay. Oh, sorry, I've been silly, haven't I? It's not M1, it's X1. And now I've left space. So all this programs. There you go. Now, that's what I want. Trying to do it slower than normal is making me kind of get a bit confused. Has everyone got Wi-Fi? Yeah? All right. Now, what do you notice in that stuff? If I hide my keyboard, it's got some information there, hasn't it? Right? You notice it's put the line of best fit in. Right, and it's given me some information here. It's given me that M is what? 0.9688187, and C is. So I tell you what, let's take that information and write it down where our other notes were. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that and take it over here. Okay, so that is now telling me that what's the equation the computer has found? Y equals mx plus c. The m is the negative 0.9. Should we round it to just 6.8? X plus c, so it's plus 60.77. So should I round that to 60.8? Okay. So that's the equation that the computer's told me. And our one was negative 1.08x plus 0.6. So we were wondering what was wrong. What do you reckon, Marley? What's wrong? Is there anything obvious that we can see, that must have been wrong? I'm talking about the equation, the new equation I've just written. This is what we calculated last time. This is the one the computer calculated. So we're happy that's correct, yeah? Because we put all the points in correct. The computer did it. The computer's line, right? The line is good. We're all right. It even goes through the mean point. I think is that the mean point? Well, one of these two. All right. So I'm happy that the computer's got things right. So what I'm doing is I'm now comparing what we had from before with what the computer's got. And can you spot, Marley, anywhere in those two equations? So the computer version that we think is right and us. The computer made the second one, we did the first one. We know there's a mistake in ours because we used it to calculate something and it was just wrong. Can you spot anywhere in that equation where there's clearly something wrong? Well, where do you mean the negative? Here. Yeah. All right, good. They both have a negative. So I think that's fine. Sam? Yeah, I like that. The M's are different, but they're close, right? Did you remember our points were slightly wrong, so that might affect our M. But look at the C. All right? Look at the C values, 0.6 and 60.8. Did anyone spot yesterday that the 0.6 probably was wrong? And think why? Well, if we have a look at the line...
Is it because...
Yeah, go for it.
Because the line is negative.
It's, well, the same though, but it's got something to do with the negative thing. Sam? Brilliant. You can see the line crosses above 60, so the plus C must be above 60, right? So that's why the computer one, right, having 60.8, that's about right, yeah? So ours 0.6, that's where our mistake came from. Well, that was the result of our mistake. We've just got to figure out where our mistake was. Any ideas? Well, I tell you what, I did write it down. Should we try and follow it through? All right, guys, let's try and follow it through. Let's look at this. The negative 13 divided by 12, where did that come from? Rise and run, yeah? Run and rise. Are we quite happy that that was correct? Is the rise negative 13 from the points? Is the run 12? All right. So I'm happy enough with that bit. What did I do next? Where did the 32 and 29 come from? What? The mean point. Am I happy enough, bearing in mind my points are a bit wrong, that it's 29 and 32, did I get them the right way round? Yeah? So I'm happy enough at that point. So this bit I'm good with. This bit I think I'm good with. All right? What about the next thing? So I've got the answer 31.4. Where did that come from? Where did 31.4 come from? And also multiplied by 29. Can you just do that again for me? Check that calculation for me on your calculator. So negative 13 divided by 12, then multiply by 29. Do we get the answer of 31.4?
Wait, negative 13.
Yeah. Negative 13 divided by 12, then multiply by 29. Is it 31.4?
Yeah, negative 31.
Ah, but that's different, isn't it? Oh. It shouldn't be 31.4, it should be negative 31.4. Oh. There's a mistake. Alright? So that's our first mistake. Right, so this is a good point to start with. Our mistake was as simple as forgetting the negative sign in that stage. Because Niall then quite correctly said, if this is 31.4, you subtract it from 32 to find the C. There was nothing wrong with what Niall said. But now we've changed it to a negative 31.4. Do we have to do anything different? Yes, we have to do something different. So what do we do instead? So this point here is obviously wrong now. That's where the mistake was. So what do we do? So shall I rewrite that? So we've now got 32 equals negative 31.4 plus C. Go on, Jai. It's still plus C. Yep.
32 plus negative 32.
Ah, there you go. Because a negative is the same as saying subtract, right? So instead of subtracting here, this is the problem, isn't it? So instead of it, we've got to add. So we've got to do 32. That should already make more sense, yeah? Add 31.4 equals C. So what does C equal? $63.4. So that's the problem, isn't it? Our 0.6 should have been what? 63.4. So then we can change that. So in our equation here, instead of 0.6, we can have 63.4. All right. Does that look a bit better now? It's not exactly the same, but we weren't expecting it to be exactly the same. It's a bit of an estimate. Can we now try again then? So instead of this negative 53.4, let's predict the 50 marks thing again. So where's the change? So arc mark, y, is found by doing negative 1.08 for our equation, multiplied by 50 is the maths mark. But instead of add 0.6, we now need to add 63.4. So what do we get as the art mark if we do that? Go for it? Everyone should be doing this. You're going to be doing it for yourself in your assessment. So if you've locked up your laptops and put away your calculators and things and you're not doing it, you're not helping yourself, yeah? So what we're looking for, the reason why I asked everyone to do it is there's always, I was saying the same to my M4s, I had 2 people in my M4 class doing it on the calculator, and the rest of them just sat there waiting for the answer to be told. The trouble is, if one of the people that did it made a mistake, we have 2 answers, we get 2 different answers. We really need some verifying answers. That's why I ask everyone to do it. It's so easy to just press one button wrong. Right? So if I can get a general consensus of what we think the answer is, 9 point. Everyone get it? So now we know we must be right. So 9.4. So how far off are we? Well, on the graph it said about 11 or 12, and my equation says 9.4. We're a little bit off, but not far, right? Remember, we got some points wrong. Tell you what, let's just confirm. What do you get if you do the same thing with the computer's equation? So can you use the computer? Let's see how far off we were. What about the computer's equation? So predict art. Oh, right. Predict art if maths is 50. But use the computer's one. Go for it. Remember how to do it. So we've just used this equation, ours, and we've got that when maths equals 50, art equals 9.4. What about the computer version? What do you get? Everyone know how to? Okay. So, do you understand what the equation is for? What's the equation for? Yeah. So that this is the line, yeah? So if I want to predict a score of 50, I go up and go across. But if I want to use the equation, I can put 50 into the equation and it will tell me what the y value of the art would be. Yeah? Now what we've got here is we've got the line that we just do it by eye, but now we've got two equations. We've got the equation that we did, and we've used that. How did we use this equation? So we used it here that we said y equals negative 1.08 times y times 50. So we replace the x with 50 for the math score. And then we do the equation and work out what y must be. So this equation is the computer's equation of the same line, but it's slightly different. So what do? We replace the x with, no, that's the answer for y. That we forget the 9.4, let's get the computer's version. So I want to know if maths is 50, which one is maths, the x or the y? Maths is the x. So we replace the x with 50 again. So for the computer this time we're doing, instead of negative 1.08 times 50, we're now doing negative 0.968 times 50. And then adding 60.8. And what do you get? Yeah? 12. So a little bit different, but not too far. Yeah? Okay. Alright. Does anyone, just out of interest, does anyone recognise any of these other numbers? So the one I'm really looking at, so I know in my group, before we came back to this group, I talked about this value here. R. Does anyone remember it? What it's about?
Rate.
It's not rates, no.
I meant radius, but I.
Okay, it's not radius either because no circles, but anyone remember what that was about? It is to do with the relationship, actually. It's a good way of putting it. No one, not quite? Right, I'm going to move on. I'll come back to that when we're doing our assessment. We can talk about that stage. Because what I really want to do now is I want to give you a bit of practice.
Is it rated?
It's not. It actually doesn't begin. It's not R4. It's actually Pearson's correlation coefficient. It's to do with the direction and the strength of the correlation. So if I asked you, what correlation can be seen in the graph, what would you tell me? Negative and strong and linear. Yeah? You have your hand up for question? Yes. Right? So it's negative because it goes down, and it's strong. Now, this number, okay, this number here is about the correlation. What do you notice about it's negative? So that means the correlation is negative. And for those of you that have talked about it, you might remember that R is anywhere between -1, which would mean a perfect correlation, and +1, which would be a perfect positive correlation. So -0.9 is really close to this end. So how would we describe it? It would be a very strong negative correlation. But we'll talk about that a bit more. All right, I want you to practice with finding the equations of some light. We've done lots of drawing. Okay, so I've got a worksheet for you. All right, got a little booklet. Turn a couple of pages in until you can see the question that I've got on my screen. Alright. So you've got this one that says exam scores, final exam, midterm exam. So we're looking for any relationship between the midterm exam and the final exam. What do you think the relationship could be like? If you do better in the midterm, you're probably going to do better in the final. Makes sense? What kind of relationship do we have? Positive? Quite strong? Yeah? Linear? So we've already been given a line. Now, there are points here. Right? Don't need to worry about it. They've all been plotted already. A line has been drawn for you. It's already there. Now, what all I want you to do is the equation of the line of best fit is one of those. Right? Multiple choice. So you're going to try and pick the right one. So how do we go about doing the equation? Yeah, you can learn. Always use your notes. That's why they're there. Rise over run. So we've got y equals mx plus c. Let's do the m bit first. Yeah. And how do we do the m? How do we find the rise over run? Pick 2 points. We don't have a mean point this time. Right? So pick 2 points. I'm going to choose this point here. Why have I picked that point? It's 125, yeah? So I know the coordinates here are 25, and I'm going to go across. What do I think that is? What is it? Is it 26? That would be 26, 27, 28, 20. It doesn't get to 50. So there's 5 jumps to get to 50 from 25. What must each square be? 5. Good. So it would be 25, 30, then 35. So this point is at 25 and 35, roughly. Right? Because it's not very accurate because of the squares. Do you want to pick another point? Should we go 50? Okay. 50 up to 50. Oh, that's a nice one. Right on it. 50 there. And we go across nicely. It's at 55. Okay. You all good with that so far? Now we need to do our rise and our run. So my rise is from 35 up to 55. So how far is that rise? 20. Good. So my my rise is 20. Is it positive or negative? Positive, because it's going up. And then my run is from 25 across to 50, which is a run of 25. So we've got 20 over 25. Right. So far we've got y equals, the m is the rise over run, so that's 20 over 25 x plus something. So what do you think? We can find out, but we can actually see that. What do you think that is about? So we think 0, 5, 10, it's a bit under 15. So what, should we go for 14? Right, that's what we think it is. Roughly, is everyone happy with that? Makes sense? Let's go to our answers then. Which one would match as close as we can get? A. All right, let me just ask you a couple of questions. Why not C? It's negative, yeah, and this is can't be that. Just ignore that one straight away, can't we?
Yeah.
What about D? It's also negative. Let's ignore that. So actually, already, we know it's out of A and B. They're pretty close, but one of them now, all right, is the better one. And we got, yeah. And do you notice that, just to add a little bit, the rise is smaller than the run, which is what we got. But this one, the rise is bigger than the run. So are we quite happy that it's A? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So, there's another one for you. You might already be able to eliminate a couple of possible answers, and then you've got another one, same sort of thing. Okay? Those pages. So have a go at those next two. See whether you can agree on what you think the lines are best fit with. Everyone good with that? We've got about 7 minutes. So I'm back to recording. So this one, guys, is another little bit of thinking. Because does that result match any of these? Well, ours is a fraction. So let's just have a look. Do we think it's the 1 over 4? Can't be that one, can it? Because we've got a bigger number on the right. So let's get rid of that one. Is it a negative? Definitely a positive. Not a negative. So we think it's this one. But why is it 7 over 4,000? Well, first of all, let's do 4. Can you do 49 divided by 4 on your calculator? What do you get? Do 49 divided by 4. What do you get? 12. So about 12. Well, that's what we've got here, isn't it? So that's all right. That's fine. But what about the 7 over 4? Why 7 over 4,000? Niall, have you spotted it? Yeah, there you go. It's in thousands. So instead of it being 5 and 9, it's actually 5,000 and 9,000. So actually, we're all good. That should have been 5,000 to 9,000, which makes 4,000. And then we were trying to read this off, but we're all good now. We think it's that one, right? We're all good. We think so. Okay? All right. Now, obviously, our next lesson is, so I'm still recording, so next lesson here will start by talking through the assessment, all right? So I'm going to give you the paper and we're going to talk through. But, we're going to be using the Desmos, so you might as well use it. So what I will say, guys, is, if I were you, I would have another practice in your own time. I'm not specifically saying homework. There's another one to do. Check you're all good with it before we go now, Alistair, before we pack up. The other thing on this sheet, here, look, the first ones, here is some ones that you can practice on Desmos. Putting the numbers into Desmos. It says use a graph X find a scat plot, but it just says what's the equation. Just find the equation using Desmos, right? And then use to predict the exam grade. So these sheets, these other ones at the beginning, are to be done using Desmos and find the equation. So again, if you want a bit of preparation at home, a bit of homework, those are the ones that you can put practice on. Okay? On Thursday. Right, have a good one.